The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Welcome. This video is predicting that 2 dirty bombs will explode in Manhattan, New York City, and there will be a large-scale evacuation on March 22nd, 2025. The date that this video is posted proves this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does this email, which, as we can see here, was composed on March 3rd. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward this to you. But given the post date of the video, I fail to see how you would be confused or skeptical. So this is a video that will explain one of the things that God has done here to reveal this event, which has incidentally been known to, this prediction for this dirty bomb, or I should say dirty bombs plural, in New York City, and this evacuation that's predicted has been known for many years, since 2019. The evacuation aspect of it has been known since early January 2023. So, but the trail of signs has been going on for years and years, and we are now discussing here just a recent event. But just want to let you know that the signs go back years regarding this particular prediction. So what we are talking about here is the emergency summit for Zelensky in Europe after the catastrophe for Zelensky at the Oval Office when he was kicked out by Trump, God's trumpet, that he uses to trumpet and highlight his prophetic signs. And so this CNN article published before the Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office says that Trump, quote, trashed the truth regarding how the war started, unquote. The truth is, the left mainstream media has trashed the truth about the Ukraine-Russia war, including how it started. The left media's presentation of Zelensky and the Ukraine-Russia war is one massive, massive lie. Like all propaganda lies, the Ukraine war lie requires the left's constant repetition in order to drill it into the soft heads of those who consume or continue to buy it, forever doubling down on the lie when confronted with contradictory information. The Ukraine-Russia war lie, along with the CVD number 19 lie, are the biggest lies in Western civilization history. Well, I take that back. But these are the biggest lies of our well, I even take that back. There are a couple of other ones too. Anyway, surpassing even the climate crisis lie, and that's saying a lot because that's a huge, huge lie and scam. The Ukraine-Russia war is clearly a monumental manifestation of the spirit of Antichrist. The Ukraine-Russia war cult-like lie that has captivated the willing masses loudly signals the end of Western civilization as we know it right now. The cult-like lies and admiration for Zelensky, the thug ruler of the third most corrupt nation in the world, according to a UN organization, is a prophetic sign that points to the coming cult-like following of the Antichrist,
the 44th president. I shouldn't say coming, because when he came the first time, it was a cult-like following also. And there still is this cult-like following for this man, the 44th president, whom God is using Zelensky to point to for symbolism. Right before the war, just days before the first day of the war, Zelensky had turned 44 years old, and so he was 44 years old for the entire first year of the prophetic first year of the war. And when the war started, Ukraine was made up of 44 million people. Zelensky is also the first Jewish leader, and God uses firsts for signs, including the first affirmative action president, Barack Obama. But also the fact that he is Jewish, the first Jewish leader, is also a hint at Bible prophecy, which regards the Antichrist persecuting Jews in Judea at the end. Okay, and so there are these, and Zelensky is this man who's been parading around the world stage, like the Antichrist will, leading the world bodies. Zelensky, these signs involving Zelensky are him with NATO and him with the UN and him with the G7 and on and on. The ICC court surprise visit. It just, he is the man. And Zelensky, in other words, is what I'm saying here, is symbolized in God's signs with the number 44 because of the 44th president. Okay? And so that's why the Ukraine-Russia war, a lie, I should say, the Ukraine-Russia war lie that the left loves is a cult. They do not question things. Anything that's contradictory, they call it Putin propaganda and shut it down. Which are all these facts about the war, right? They're not like, it's not like it's an opinion or debatable. You can't even confront them with facts that contradict anything other than Zelensky, the greatest man ever, the saint, the Ukraine people are the saints, and the Russian-speaking majority in Ukraine, in eastern Ukraine, don't exist, and also Putin and Russians are pure evil, and Putin is a Hitler intent on taking over all of Europe, and so we need to stop him like we needed to stop Hitler. I mean, come on. This is so ridiculous, and it is such a big, it's not even a lie. It's like worse than a lie. It's a cult. I don't know what to describe it as. It's a sick religion. This Zelensky religion, Ukraineism, okay? But the left is very, very sick, and that's why the end times are happening now, and why the Antichrist is the leader of the left. They are sick. They are all of them are going to hell. This video is an attempt to try to help them and wake them up and shock them with this prediction, because they require a shock. You cannot tell anyone anything other than Putin is the sole aggressor and nothing else. And so you need, hopefully this will shock them because they need it. Now, given that the Antichrist, who, quote, speaks like a dragon, unquote, from Revelation chapter 13, is the 44th president, it is not surprising that the first Jewish leader of Ukraine turned 44 years old just prior to the war beginning, at a time when the population of Ukraine was 44 million. Here is the proof that the Zelensky cult and the Ukraine-Russia war lie is a massive manifestation of the spirit of Antichrist. The emergency Zelensky summit in London on March 2nd, 2025, was titled Securing Our Future. First Thessalonians 5:3, quote, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape," end quote. Okay, so that's what's hinted at. This isn't the fulfillment of it, this Securing Our Future summit.
That's the title of this Zelensky Emergency Summit, Securing Our Future. I should emphasize securing our future. It's a hint at this Bible prophecy regarding the Antichrist at the end, when they say peace and safety, as in security. Okay? And then the Antichrist will come and they shall not escape. That's the message here in this prophecy. The sudden destruction is predicted to begin. Now, in this prophecy again, I'll read it again. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Well, that's what's predicted to happen here. That's what this video is about. The sudden destruction that's predicted to begin 9 plus 11 days after the summit. Okay, the summit was on 3/2, and the prediction is for 3/22. 9 plus 11 days after the summit, when dirty bombs are predicted to explode in Manhattan. 9 plus 11 days is also 4 times 4 plus 4 days, which is the 44th president. And God repeats a number 3 times for emphasis of its symbolic meaning. And so this is a pairing, this is a tripling of 4. The word for man in the Greek concordance is G444 as well, and that's relevant because the Antichrist's number is 666, because the number 6 is symbolic of man, who was created on the 6th day of creation. But also, the predicted dirty bombs are predicted to detonate in Manhattan, the location of the 9/11 events. And so 9 plus 11 days prior to the predicted collapse of security in Manhattan, where the 9/11 events occurred, is this peace and safety securing our future summit. That's prophetic, a prophetic sign, because it involves Zelensky, who is symbolic of the American Antichrist, the 44th president. Okay? One of the most important signs of all occurred on May 2nd, 2021. This is because May 2nd, 2021 was 1,260 days before the Day of Atonement signs on October 12th to 13th, 2024. I won't explain those signs. Let's see. Yeah. Well, anyway, and that's because of the Bible prophecy that speaks of 1,260 days regarding the end times and the period of the Antichrist. This period of 1,260 days mentioned 7 times in Bible prophecy. Okay, and so this was recognized, this May 2nd, 2021 date was known to be 1,260 days prior to the symbolic finality of the Day of Atonement in 2024. That connection was known since 2016 or whatever. Yeah, late 2016. Without explaining the signs, on May 2nd, 2021, was SpaceX's, as in X is symbolic of the mark of the Antichrist, Dragon crew, as in the dragon in Revelation chapter 12 that is thrown down from heaven to earth, as in the dragon crew that fell from the second heaven, outer space, to earth. And its second ever splashdown after breaking the record of 84 days in space. And 84 is prophetic of Obama, whose name in Hebrew gematria is equal to 84. And Obama was born on the date 8/4, the 6 times 6 times 6th day of the calendar year. Okay, so the record of days in space, 84, was broken by this Dragon crew in the SpaceX, and that was the day of the splashdown. It was untimed to be on that day because it was delayed from the original timing of the touched splashdown because of bad weather. And so they had to make an emergency landing or a quick descent, which was 6.5 hours, which is 390 minutes, and the number 390 is symbolic of return, which is at the return of this Dragon crew. Because the 390th word in Greek concordance is the word return, used by the Apostle James when he quoted Amos 9:11 regarding the return of the Lord to rebuild his temple. Now,
So, okay, you know what? I'm beginning to go off track here with trying to explain May 2nd, and I refrained from doing it when I wrote it, but let's continue because there's just so much more to that significance of that SpaceX, but let's stop it. Okay, it was the first nighttime splashdown since the first astronauts went to the moon in Apollo 8. Apollo hints at Apollyon, same name, in Revelation 9:11. 8 hints at 4 plus 4 and the 44th president. The moon symbolizes Christ in God's signs. It is a giant rock, and in the Bible, rock is symbolic of Jesus. And the first time that they went to the moon, they didn't land on the moon in Apollo 8, but they went to the moon for the first time. Okay. On October 13th, 2024, which was the Day of Atonement, the Pentagon first admitted that for weeks there had been dozens of fleets of mysterious UFO drones over U.S. military sites, and that there was nothing they could do about it. The cult-like summit for Zelensky, which is hinted at with 44, on April 2nd, 2025, was exactly exactly the 4 times 4th semi-prime number of months, 46 months, since the SpaceX splashdown that pointed to Apollo 8, as in Revelation 9:11, etc. And Apollo 8 as in 4 plus 4 and the 44th president, hence the 4 times 4th semi-prime number of months, 46 months. Okay, so again, this important Zelensky 44 summit was exactly the 4 times 4th semi-prime number of months after the SpaceX splashdown, this extremely prophetic date. Now, 46 months is also 23 times 2 months after the SpaceX mark. X equals mark in God's signs, mark of the Antichrist. And the mark of the Antichrist alters a person's 23 pairs of chromosomes, as in 23 and 2, as in 23 times 2. Also, Satan in Hebrew gematria is equal to 232, which is what is hinted at with 23 times 2 months. Now, the reason why this is all relevant is because, like I am saying, it's very important. This Zelensky summit in Europe, it's not about Zelensky and it's not about the Russia-Ukraine war in terms of prophecy that I'm explaining right now. What I'm explaining is the symbolism. Because Europe is the beast that the woman rides in Bible prophecy. It's very important in the end times, the European Union, etc. Okay, which, by the way, the symbol of the European Union is Europa riding the bull, as in the woman riding the beast. Now, I'm just giving you this example of the Zelensky summit being one of these many examples of God using Zelensky on the world stage to symbolize the coming Antichrist on the world stage, the 44th president, which is again why Zelensky turned 44 years old just days before the war began, and why his nation before the evacuation, as in the rapture symbolism, evacuation of God's true people, faithful from the coming Antichrist, which is why Ukraine was made up of 44 million at the beginning of the war when Zelensky had just turned 44 years old. This is all because of the 44th president, okay? Now, again, this summit is an example of the a symbolic example of how the 44th president will be on the world stage. Okay, and so that's why it's relevant that it ties back to this big Antichrist date. I mean, the biggest, as I'm saying, one of the most important signs of all was this May 2nd sign that I just described, or I didn't actually describe it. I began to describe a little bit about it. But it's very important. I also explained the 1,260 days later and how that was very important, and how it related to space. Okay, and so we got the 1,260 days connecting to both of these space signs also. And what's coming is the deception of demons pretending to be aliens, which is symbolized by Revelation 9:11,
which is why Apollo 8 is connected to all of this, because Apollo hints at Apollyon in Revelation 9:11. Okay, and then also the dragon crew splashed down, and in Bible prophecy, right before the dragon is thrown down from heaven to earth, is the evacuation of God's faithful in the rapture, which is why the evacuation of the people from Ukraine, when it was made up of 44 million. Okay, and there's even more proof here because of the number of months, also hinting at the name Satan, and the mark of the Antichrist, as I just explained. Okay, so now, the cult-like meeting of the leaders, and it truly is a cult-like meeting, if you have the eyes to see it properly, and you're not caught up in the spirit of Antichrist. If you have wisdom, and no one has wisdom unless they fear the Lord, as the Bible says. The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. This includes many quote-unquote Christians who don't fear the Lord and don't have wisdom. If you have the wisdom, you will clearly see how sick and corrupt and evil our time is, first of all. And you will be able to recognize furthermore, the lie of the Russia-Ukraine war and the cult-like admiration of Zelensky. And that's why you will clearly see that this emergency Zelensky-Russia-Ukraine war summit is pure Antichrist spirit, okay? And what I'm doing now is proving it to you, because I'm about to connect it to, or I did already connect it to the prediction for the dirty bombs. Okay, so that said, that's the purpose of this prediction. That is from God. This prediction is from God. I didn't make up this prediction. This is a prophecy from God. The reason why 1/3 of the Bible is prophecy is for the purpose of God proving it. The disciples recognized that Jesus was the Messiah through his fulfillment of prophecy. This is a prophecy. I am predicting the date of the predicted dirty bombs and evacuation from Manhattan Island. When the prediction comes to pass, it will prove everything I am saying. Believe me, I know far better than you the reason and purpose for this prediction. It is to prove the things that I am saying. That is the purpose of the prediction. There is no debate when the prediction comes to pass. What I am saying is that if you are part of this Zelensky, Ukrainism, Slava Ukraini, or whatever, you are seriously in jeopardy of your salvation. It is a huge sign that you are not right. You do not have the Holy Spirit. You are not recognizing things. You do not know what is going on. You have bought the brainwashing propaganda in the media, which is so easily able to be seen through. If you just take a minute, and furthermore, I don't even buy it for a second that you haven't already been confronted with contradictory information. You've dismissed it because you have the spirit of Antichrist. I don't care if you call yourself a quote-unquote Christian. If you are buying into the Ukrainism lies, it is not good. It is not a good sign for your spirit and your soul and your path. Okay? Anyway, whatever the matter may be with your personal relationship with God, what I am saying is that the spirit of Antichrist is behind the lies of the Russia-Ukraine propaganda in Western media and the admiration for Zelensky. Okay? That's proven to be true when the prediction comes to pass. Case closed. That's the purpose of this video. I'm not just making another video like thousands and thousands of other videos on the internet that can already give you the information that the lies of the Russia-Ukraine war are lies. That's not the purpose of this video. I wouldn't waste my time with that because there's already enough information out there regarding that. Now what I'm saying is it's all proven to be true with the prediction. That's the purpose of this video. This isn't for entertainment. It's not to say, oh, cool, you were able to know ahead of time the dirty bombs in Manhattan. No, that's not the purpose of the prediction. The purpose of this prediction is to shock you, because you will not listen to reason. And if you are on the left, this is probably your last chance. You need the shock of this prediction. You are almost out of time, and you are really, really lost if you are on the left. And there is no such thing as a quote-unquote on the left. That's an oxymoron. And the prediction will prove this if you don't agree with me. The cult-like meeting of the leaders of the West on March 2nd, 2025 was also exactly 55 months after the first ever SpaceX Dragon crew splashdown. Before we continue, I was talking about how from the meeting, the emergency summit, it is 9 plus 11 days to the prediction for the dirty bombs and the location where the 9/11 events occurred. And how it was the 4 times 4th semi-prime number, in other words, 46 months after the second splashdown of SpaceX. Now that 4 times 4 a month, semi-prime number of months, 46 months, is also exactly 1,400 days, which is 700 plus 700 days. And that's also symbolic of the end times because of the dream that Joseph interpreted in Egypt. But also, it's exactly 200 weeks, which is 90 plus 1,100 weeks, which also hints at 9/11. So in other words, from the splashdown that I was talking about, it's exactly 90 plus 1,100 weeks. Sorry. 90 plus, not 11, 100 weeks, 110. What am I thinking? So 90 plus 110 weeks, which hints at 9/11, to the meeting, which is then 9 plus 11 days, to the predicted events in Manhattan where the 9/11 events occurred. Do you see that? This important date, which was May 2nd, 2021, that I explained, regarding the symbolic beginning of the end times, because of all of what it points to in Bible prophecy, connects with, and also it was, it hinted at Apollo, the Apollo missions, and that hinted at Revelation 9/11. And from this date, it is 90 plus 110 weeks, which hints at 9/11, to the Zelensky Antichrist Emergency Summit in Europe, which is in turn 9 plus 11 days, to the predicted dirty bombs in New York City, the location of the 9/11 events. And also, as explained in other videos, the material for the dirty bombs will have been smuggled in from Ukraine. Okay, now back to here. The cult-like meeting of the leaders of the West on March 2nd, 2025 was also exactly 55 months after the first ever SpaceX Dragon crew splashdown. Now I'm talking about the first. The one that I talked about here was the second ever SpaceX Dragon crew splashdown. Now I'm talking about the first. It was 55 months exactly before the emergency Antichrist Zelensky meeting in Europe. The word Satan is equal to 55 in simple English gematria. The other connection, by the way, hinted at the word Satan in Hebrew gematria. And Satan is mentioned 55 times in the Bible. The most wicked king in the Bible ruled Judah for 55 years. That's another reason why the number 55 in God's signs here. Because the most wicked king is also symbolic of the most wicked American president, Barack Obama. At the site of the launch of the first Dragon crew mission, Pence
standing next to trumpet, trumpets, hints at trumpet, tweeted that the launch was 3.5 years in the making. 3.5 years is 1,260 days. For the dragon that is thrown down from heaven to earth, Revelation chapter 12, what I was talking about earlier. This period of 1,260 days is also connected with the first splashdown, because the first Dragon Crew launch was when trumpets, because they were standing next to each other, trumpets and such trumpets, trumpeted, tweeted that the mission was 3.5 years in the making. By the way, the attempt of the first launch was delayed 17 minutes before it was supposed to launch, and it was the Falcon 9 rocket, and it was delayed due to lightning, and that's because the president from 09 to 17 is Barak, and Barak in Hebrew means lightning. Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. Barak means lightning, Bama means high place, which in the Bible is a metaphor for heaven, and O in the language Jesus would have spoken is from. And so Barack Obama means lightning from heaven. Either Jesus didn't know what he was saying when he said this, or he knew there would be a famous president named Barack Obama and said this anyway, or he was revealing the identity of the Antichrist. Obviously, the latter option is the only one that makes any sense. And I mean that. I really mean that. I mean, the human condition is psychologically is that people will not accept information that disagrees with what they already believe. There are so many quote unquote Christians that believe that the identity of the Antichrist is not possible to know. But Jesus revealed the identity of the Antichrist. You are wrong. Case closed. Right? There's only 3 options. The name Barack Obama means lightning from heaven. It's a fact. It's a fact. All right? And so, either he didn't know what he was saying, or he knew there would be a famous president, but said it anyway in knowing that it would confuse us, or he revealed the identity of the Antichrist. Obviously, the latter option is the one that makes sense. So, enough of the Antichrist guessing game. Furthermore, God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, overwhelmingly, and I mean the word overwhelmingly is the biggest understatement ever, reveals that Barack Obama is the Antichrist. Okay? I've been studying the big picture of signs from morning until night for more than full-time hours for more than 7 years, and daily we have these signs that are revealing Obama. So I can't even use the word overwhelmingly. But you are new to this, maybe, this big picture of signs, and you're not aware of it, but hopefully you will become aware of it when the prediction comes to pass, and that's why God is providing this prediction, so that you become aware of God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is overwhelmingly identified Barack Obama. I mean, the way the big signs, patterns, and connections works is using Obama symbolism. That's how it all comes together. I mean, we wouldn't know, for example, about the prediction for the bomb in Manhattan without these tools, for example, these numbers that symbolize Obama, 9 and 44, which is about what I'm about to get to here. God pairs 9 and 44 together to confirm the signs and connections, but it isn't just to reveal the 44th president who was inaugurated in 09. It's a tool for which to use to get all kinds of other information, including, for example, the prediction for the dirty bombs. Okay? And by the way, this is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel. It works on the principle of second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter, as the Bible says is required. And this is what makes what is being explained on this channel true and not a product of one's imagination, and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. And if we think about it, one simple way in which God would provide a second witness for us is through pairing certain numbers together, such as 9 and 44. And I know this because I have been studying his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections from morning until night for more than full-time hours for more than 7 years, okay? So anyway, God pairs 9 and 44, and that's to confirm his signs and connections. Another way to describe this is that the emergency Zelensky, as in 44, as in the 44th president who speaks like a dragon, summit, the emergency summit, was 4 times fourth semi-prime number of months after the prophetic second Dragon Crew splashdown. This was in turn exactly 9 months. Okay, so another way to have this connection is 9 months. A gestation period is 9 months. And when asked by his disciples for the signs to look for of his return, Jesus replied with the metaphor of birth pains. Okay, so, and the number 9 is the most important number in God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, because from the Bible it symbolizes God's judgment. So, the second SpaceX splashdown was exactly 9 months after the first Dragon Crew splashdown. And both of them were prophetic, like I just explained, and they were exactly 9 months apart, which is extremely prophetic. Furthermore, the first one, like I said, was launched on the Falcon 9 rocket, but it was delayed 17 minutes, which confirmed the significance of the number 9 in the Falcon 9 rocket, because the president was president from 09 to 17. And another pairing that God uses is 9 and 17 to confirm his signs and connections. Now, again, in Revelation chapter 12, the dragon is thrown down from heaven to earth after a birth. Hence, more significance or relevance of the 9 months between the Dragon Crew splashdowns that were falling from the second heaven, outer space, to earth. So what we have here is 9 months from the first one to the second one of the SpaceX splashdowns, followed by the 4 times 4th semi-prime number of months to the Zelensky 44 emergency summit in Europe. That's 9 months and then 44. That's a pairing of 9 and 44. A beautiful, amazing pairing of 9 and 44. And at the end of the trail is Zelensky, who is symbolized by 44. These signs and connections are pointing to the coming day when these world leaders unify in an emergency summit after the bottomless pit is opened, Revelation 9:11, and demons pretend to be aliens. The symbolic beginning of this is predicted to occur on June 9th. 6 divided by 9 is 0.666, the number in Bible prophecy that symbolizes the Antichrist. And this 6-9 date that's predicted to be the beginning, symbolic beginning of the demons pretending to be aliens, is exactly 9 times 11 days after the Zelensky emergency summit. And Zelensky is symbolized by 44, and so that's a pairing, well, because 9 times 11 is 99, so that's making it a pairing of 9 and 44. A term that I have been using to describe this day, 6-9, June 9th, that has been predicted long before the Zelensky summit to be on June 9th, is Revelation 9:11 day. That's why that's astounding to have this 9 times 11 days connection, because it was known a long time ago that the one way to label this day is Revelation 9:11 day, because this is the verse in Bible prophecy that symbolizes the opening of the bottomless pit from which the demons will emerge, and they then will pretend to be aliens, and then there will be, I guess, some sort of emergency summit. Okay, so which is why this 9 times 11 days connection between Zelensky, who's symbolized by 44, and Revelation 9:11 day. That's why this is stunning. Okay. Now, by the way, if this isn't the day, it's a step in the trail. That's how it works. God connects these dates that he points to ahead of time, and the date may or may not be the end of the trail for the relevant related prediction. If it isn't, a clear and relevant prophetic sign will occur on that date that will provide us more information that will lead us on further down the line of trail of signs to the eventuality of the fulfillment of the prediction that God is pointing to. I do not believe that March 22nd will be a step in the trail to the predicted dirty bombs, but there have been many. This has been going on, like I said at the beginning, I think, of this video. This has been going on since 2019. God has been establishing these trails of signs regarding this prediction, this theme of these dirty bombs in Manhattan. In other words, there were dates in the past where I thought probably that the dirty bombs would explode in Manhattan. They ended up being steps in the trail that on those dates occurred clear and relevant signs
The skeptic will say, well, you just keep predicting dates. But they are fools. The clear relevant signs confirmed all of the analysis each and every time. But when the prediction comes to pass, feel free to be the skeptic now, but when the prediction comes to pass, it will prove everything, including all of the prior steps and the analysis for those steps. And what I'm getting at here, too, is that there are over 50 videos that predicted February 23rd, 2024. And I stopped continuing to update those videos. But you need to watch them. The reason is because this is the reason why God develops the big trail of signs. It would be one thing for him to just say to someone, hey, I'm choosing you to tell the world that such and such will happen on such and such date. But what good would that be? It is through these interconnected dates and signs that God is able to tell these stories, like the one I am telling in this video, which are used, these stories are used to provide the extremely important and essential information that everyone needs to know. And what I am saying is that there is all kinds of extremely important and essential information that you need to know in these videos that led these trails of signs to February 23rd, 2024. You need to go back into the catalog of videos and find them and watch them. The wise person will recognize when the prediction comes to pass that they need to watch every minute of every video. There are a lot of other stories that God was telling, and you need to know about them. And I don't have the time to update those 50 videos to explain the trail of signs that led on from February 23rd. In every video. I don't have time to update every video. That trail of signs is, believe me, explained in the totality of videos. All right? Now, so where was I here? Okay, so we had the 9 months followed by the 4 times fourth semi-prime number to the Zelensky meeting, and he is symbolized by 44. That's amazing. And now, these signs and connections, I already said this paragraph too, okay. So after the Zelensky pre-Antichrist summit, I mean, that's a really way to put it. I mean, this is like the pre-Antichrist summit. Here's a picture of it, right? After the Zelensky pre-Antichrist summit, in the historic Royal Lancaster House in London, Zelensky flew by helicopter to meet with King Charles. God is using helicopters in his signs. This isn't how I know this sign right here. I've known this for a long time because of God's big picture of signs in which he develops information through the stories. You know, I've learned this a long time ago. God is using helicopters for symbolism for the dragon in Revelation chapter 12 because of the tails of the dragon. Also, you could argue that helicopters looked like dragonflies. But a big part of the dragon in Revelation chapter 12 is its tail. And so anyway, Zelensky flew, the man symbolized by 44, who is symbolic of the 44th president Antichrist, after the the pre-Antichrist summit in the historic Lancaster House in London, Zelensky flew by helicopter to meet with King Charles. The coronation of King Charles was on May 6th, 2023, exactly 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days after Queen Elizabeth's funeral, which lends King Charles Antichrist symbolism. Now, there are some people who very, very mistakenly think that King Charles is the Antichrist described in Bible prophecy. No, he is symbolism for it, just like Zelensky. Zelensky isn't the Antichrist either, although he's being used as symbolism for the Antichrist. And this is what God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections reveals. These people that think that because of this connection of 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days, that King Charles must therefore be the Antichrist, aren't watching. I mean, some of them are watching a little bit, but some of people are only watching signs in the night sky. Some people are watching a little bit, but the true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections is explained only on this channel. And it overwhelmingly identifies Obama. The reason why, Zelensky, as I've explained Zelensky and the reasons why he is symbolic of the Antichrist, the 44th president. But King Charles is also not only symbolic of the Antichrist king, and also symbolic of King James, that the pilgrims escaped persecution, which was in itself symbolism for the escape of persecution from the king of Egypt, of the Israelites. The pilgrims saw their crossing of the Atlantic to the New World as analogous to the Israelites crossing the Jordan River into the Promised Land. And so, and that's what the King of England or the UK also symbolizes, is the escape of the pilgrims from persecution, which is symbolic, like I said, in itself, symbolic of the escape of persecution from the king of Egypt, who in the Bible is symbolic of the Antichrist. But also, King Charles is most likely one of the 10 kings described in Bible prophecy in the book of Revelation. But he is not the Antichrist king. Anyone that thinks that's not watching, and also doesn't have discernment. Discernment will tell anyone that Barack Obama is the Antichrist. And furthermore, that the Antichrist would be an American president, because God is focused on America. I should say Barack Obama is the second of two Antichrists. The first is the Pope, because, Catholicism, Bible prophecy is more than clear. Old Testament prophecy, that the first of the two Antichrists would be a Pope. I don't want to get off track here. But anyway, discernment would tell someone that, the left is evil and the leader of the left, Obama, would be the Antichrist, and it would be an American president, and all kinds of things that happened to Obama from his very beginning to the present date. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I don't even know how to describe it, how much information there is that reveals that Barack Obama is the Antichrist. It's overwhelming isn't the adjective. Now, so enough of that. King Charles isn't the Antichrist, but he was coronated 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days after the death, the funeral of Queen Elizabeth, and these are these two big events, these two traditional ceremonial events. They are 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days apart. What that also does, by the way, is communicate that God's judgment is coming upon the UK and primarily, in general, the English-speaking nations, the Anglosphere. The nations that were most blessed, the ones that received the most amount of light, their judgment will be commensurate with that. It's the same with Israel. God blessed Israel, and then he destroyed Israel. Okay, and so also the coronation of King Charles. This is astounding. This is jaw-dropping. The coronation of King Charles. Again, his coronation was 6 months, 6 days, and 6 weeks and 6 days after the funeral of Queen Elizabeth. But his coronation was exactly 666 days before he met with Zelensky, who is symbolic of the 44th president, after the securing, as in peace and safety, our future pre-Antichrist summit. The emergency Zelensky, as in symbolic for 44, summit in London on March 2nd was exactly 4 times 4 months after the AI summit that Kamala Harris spoke at on November 2nd, 2023. The Beatles released their last song, Now and Then, on this date. and it was known for using AI in its creation. The big story about the song is that it wasn't possible until this new technology. John Lennon had recorded something that couldn't be used until the new AI technology could eliminate the piano from his voice, separate the piano from his voice. And so, okay, that release of the song just happened to be on the same day that Kamala Harris spoke at the AI summit in London, in the UK. And of course, the Beatles are from the UK. In fact, the Beatles, in terms of a prophetic sign, is symbolic of, well, the British invasion, which is a hint at, well, okay, which was 4 times 4 months, and then 9 times 11 days, as I've explained, to the invasion from the bottomless pit of on Aliens Invasion Day, on June 9th. Again, I previously explained June 9th and how this is the Aliens Invasion Day, when the bottomless pit will be opened and demons pretending to be aliens will arrive or make themselves known, or I don't know what exactly will happen. Maybe the Pope will declare that they have made him the ambassador for the world on June 9th, or maybe in the mainstream media everywhere it will be accepted that aliens exist. But we have a 4 times 4 months connection followed by a 9 times 11 days connection to Revelation 9/11 Day and Aliens Invasion Day. And the 44th president is the Antichrist. And the middle date here is the emergency summit with Zelensky, who's symbolized by 44, and his meeting with King Charles as an Antichrist king, 666 days after his coronation, which was 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days after the funeral for the Queen. Okay, and so, and that's all relevant because Kamala Harris, at the beginning of this 4 times 4 months exact connection, was in the UK for the AI summit, and the Beatles are from the UK and are known for being from the UK, hence British invasion. And on that same day, they released their song, Now and Then, that was produced using AI. And Now and Then is also prophetic. The name in itself, it hints at the timing of the arrival of the Antichrist. This is huge. This is huge. The British invasion, I'm calling this the British invasion sign. The release of their final song, the last ever Beatles song. And how it's prophetic because of the connections to AI, which will be used in the end times, by the way, to persecute God's people. This connection of AI, this is a British invasion sign. And it connects with a very, very extremely profound prophetic 4 times 4 months. God uses these numbers, 4 times 4 months. This is over and over and over and over and over again, 4 times 4 months, because the 44th president is the Antichrist. But then that's followed with 9 times 11 days to Revelation 9/11 Day. Aliens Invasion Day, as in British invasion, which is what the British invasion sign is symbolic of. I mean, think of that. Way back in the 1960s, the British invasion was all along for God's purpose to point to the coming invasion of the demonic realm. Oh, and right as I said that, this clock, and I didn't look at it before it, I just glanced, it was 4 minutes and 40 seconds, the time of this particular recording. The emergency Zelensky, as in 44 summit in London, was also exactly 4 times 4 months after the AI summit in London. So it's summit to summit. Forgot to emphasize that, which is why I wrote it later. Right, it's a summit, and it was prophetic because Kamala Harris was at it, speaking about AI, and God is using, long story, which I explained in the other Beatles video, the significance of Harris being at that summit. Okay, well, anyway, summit to summit, connected with 4 times 4 months, and Zelensky is symbolic of 44. Because again, he turned 44 right before the beginning of the war, at a time when his nation was made up of 44 million before the evacuation. And we are talking about the coming evacuation from Manhattan Island in this video, but also the big evacuation, which will be the rapture of God's faithful from the coming persecution, severe persecution from the Antichrist, and the collision with the earthly realm with the demonic realm. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained.
The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, "Jesus loves you," unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.